Hi guys, I'm here for the stories. We'll read one today, maybe two, depending on how long they are. The first one is called A Snapping Turtle, a Catfish, and a Chicken Bone. Ain't it funny how one little thing set a whole lot of other things in motion? Why, today's party wouldn't be happening at all if Sister Pauline hadn't finally decided to get baptized. She should have did it years ago. Sister Pauline knowed Jesus since she was a young'un, but just before her first baptism, wouldn't you know, a little snapper swum up and nipped her toe. Pauline set to screaming and ran out of the river and made up her mind that Jesus had to let her into heaven without the slushing. Well, bless my soul, that was 70 years ago. I still remember sitting on the riverbank in my blue dress, watching some ants when Pauline run right past me screaming to wake the dead. So I just about dropped my teeth when she stood up in services last July and said, "Brother Henry, I seen the light. I'll be walking with Jesus soon, and I need to be washed in the river first." The next week we had a picnic at the same spot where the turtle bit Pauline. She waded into the river to meet Brother Henry wearing a choir robe and pearly earrings. I mean Pauline, don't you know, not the Reverend. We sung a verse of Amazing Grace, and Sister took a deep breath and pinched her nose. Brother Henry lowered the gentle like into the river, and when she came up, we commenced to singing again. But we didn't get past amazing. We was laughing too hard. You see, Sister Pauline came up out of the water without her wig. I looked down river, and there it went, swirling along in the current, all white and fluffy before it disappeared. Sister Pauline just said, "Praise Jesus, I'm getting a new wig," and we tucked into the fried chicken. You think my story's over, but it ain't. I don't take long for folk around here to learn each other's business. The rest of the story I heard here and there, 'tain't gossip neither. Every word's God's honest truth. The morning after Sister lost her wig, George Benson was fishing downstream. He was just about to quit when he felt powerful tugging on his line. He landed that fish and stared in disbelief. Flopping on the river bank was a catfish covered with white hair. It got all tangled up in Sister Pauline's wig, and my lands, it gave George a fright. First thing he done, once he recovered, was call up his buddy to come take his picture with the hairy catfish. And George brung the picture straight to the Gazette, where Mary Lou took one look and said she done found her lead story. A few days later the newspaper came out, and there was George on the front page holding up the catfish wearing Sister Pauline's wig. You never seen nothing like it. The same day Marietta Tompkins sat down to breakfast with some leftover chicken. She opened the Gazette just as she was chomping on the chicken wing. And my stars, if that picture didn't make her laugh. Her old maid daughter Lynette heard the comin' and had the commotion and come into the kitchen saying, "Why, Mama, what's gotten into you?" Marietta couldn't stop laughing. Excuse me. When all of a sudden she took a choking. You know it? There was a bone stuck in her craw. And Lynette knew it, too. She grabbed her mama and run her to the hospital with them both in their house coats. Marietta was breathing fine, but coughing around that bone. And her throat hurt plenty. That nice Dr. Watkins at the hospital done what he does, and in just a minute she was right as rain, but plenty embarrassed, let me tell you. Dr. Watkins sent Marietta home with orders to drink tea and honey, and a warning not to eat and read at the same time. But all the while he was lecturing Marietta, he was looking at Lynette in her old house coat and thinking, "That's one fine-looking woman." And all the while Lynette was studying the linoleum and thinking, "I wish I'd put on some mascara." You know what happened next? A few days later Dot Watkins called on Marietta to see how her throat was, and Lynette asked him to stay for lemonade, and today they're getting married. Brother Henry's doing the ceremony down by the river. George Benson standing up for the doctor, and Sister Pauline got a new wig. You believe it? She's a redhead now. The end. The end. And that only took 5 minutes. Let's see. Be afraid. Be very afraid. Wow, this one's long. Oh, we'll try to read it. Lisa's lips trembled as she it's called Be Afraid. Be very afraid. Lisa's lips trembled, but she refused to be a crybaby. She was a big girl, for goodness sake. She held her hands out and saw that they were shaking. In fact, most of her was shaking. Stop that, she demanded through clenched teeth, but her hands wouldn't listen, and neither would her legs, which at a moment felt like 2 strands of spaghetti. She hated that she was so nervous. So that what if this was her first day? Lots of people had first days. She remembered her first day of 4th grade. It hadn't been that bad. Maybe 6 wouldn't be that bad either. Lisa leaned against the nearby locker for several moments, tried to convince herself there was nothing to worry about, but her self-pep talk seemed to only make her sweat more, and she definitely didn't want to walk into class with sweat stains under her arms. All she wanted to do was run back home to her bed, dive under the covers, and not emerge until the school year was over. But that was not an option. Her mom's word came back to her, uninvited, but they were somewhat comforting nonetheless. When in doubt, pray. So Lisa prayed. Quick, inaudible prayers under her breath, and then she prayed some more, hoping like crazy that God was listening. Suddenly the tears threatened again, but she blinked them back. She would not cry. She would march into class with her head held high, ready for battle. She stepped away from the lockers and stood up straight. What was the verse in Proverbs her mom quoted the other day from the Message Bible? She was always quoting Proverbs from the Message. She said the Message was easier to understand. It just came out and told it how it was. Oh yeah, she remembered now. Proverbs 21:31. Do your best, prepare for the worst, then trust God to bring victory. Well, she was certainly prepared for the worst. Would God bring the victory, or would she go down defeated? She peered into the classroom through the class window. Everyone was talking, laughing, shooting paper wads, obviously comfortable with each other. How would they respond to her, to someone new? She looked from face to face, trying to determine which one were part of the popular cliques, who were the noisy troublemakers, and who were the quiet ones. She knew she would be drawn to the quiet ones. The loud, obnoxious kids intimidated her somehow, and made her feel small. Again she reminded herself, this is 6th grade, stop acting like such a baby. Her heart was thumping out of her chest. Lisa squared her shoulders and took a few deep breaths to calm herself. I can do this, she said aloud. God will bring the victory. As she put her hand on the doorknob and began to turn it, she watched through the glass that the head started turning as well. Voices grew quiet. Chairs stopped, scraping. Paper wads stayed where they landed. She stepped into the classroom and looked around, a lump forming in her throat. Should she say something? It looked like everyone was waiting for her to say something. Maybe she should introduce herself. Hi, my name is Miss Lewis, and I'm your substitute teacher. And a paper wad hit her square in the forehead. The intention process had begun. As she peeled the wet wad from her skin, only one thought permitted her mind, another of her mother's famous quotes from Proverbs. A prudent person sees trouble coming and ducks. A simpleton walks in blindly and is clobbered. Yes, she had reason to be afraid. 6th grade children could be so cruel. It was a teacher the whole time, and I thought it was a kid. Sherm's not even listening to me. So this video is 10 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and stop with those 2 stories. I'll see you guys again tomorrow, God willing, with another Bible reading and some stories. I hope you guys have a good rest of the day. Let's bring those souls to Jesus. I love you guys, and God willing, I'll see you later. Bye, guys.